Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another installment of Girl Dad Girls. I am one of your hosts, Bree St. Marie. We have that QT Danny B. We have Michaela Garcia, and we have our lovely guest, Corinne Bennett. Welcome to the show.
Yeah, hi, my name is Corinne. I am 31 years old. I'm a Washingtonian transplant. Currently working in tech. Before this, I was infantry Marine for about 10 years. And I'm a mom. I have 3 kids. My girls are 10 and 8, and my son is 4. And oh God, I'm obsessed with black coffee. I like to run, hiking, camping. I have a small following on Instagram. I've been blogging my transition over the last 5 years. And yeah, that's me. The things that I care about are like this, helping people transition, but specifically like other veterans who are like struggling to figure out how to come out while they're in the military or coming out of the military into the civilian space. So like I do a lot of outreach for fellow veterans who were either closeted or at the beginnings of their transitions and figuring out what the hell that looks like in the U.S. military, given the constantly shifting political like situation that affects it. And yeah, just kind of doing a lot of family stuff as well. There's a lot more to it than that, but you know, when you're asked to be put on the spot to tell a little bit about yourself, it's always like you don't have like a tight 10 ready to go. So bear with me.
You're right. You're good. Did you?
Strippers.
Strippers.
Wow, I have it all. Exciting. Yeah, I work for a FANG company. I'm at one of the big tech companies here in the U.S. and I work with a team that develops custom speech assistants. So I myself am not. I don't have a background in software development or writing code or as a software engineer. Right now, what I do is I lead teams of software developers and engineers and help them coordinate across various different multifunctional platforms to and different teams to achieve their goals. So basically, my job is talking, and I work with people who are far more proficient than I am in a bunch of different tasks, and help them basically make the connections that they need, unblock them when we're blocked by whether it's a third party or a first party problem. It's my job to manage the coordination and communication to get them through. I don't know. Leading Marines is like herding cats. This job is a little
Oh,
bit.
you're saying herd. I thought you asked if she hurt cats.
Oh no, I don't.
Like, is that what
I'm not a
people
cat
do? They just
person.
like kick cats out on the street or something?
Yeah. Yeah. No, I have a really good team, and honestly, it's more along the lines of like my engineers and my scientists are never on the same page, because like engineers and scientists don't get along, just like engineers and architects don't get along, just like engineers and developers don't get along, and like engineers don't get along. The damn engineers, they ruined everything. So it's
Yeah,
it's challenging
we're
to
a bunch of
translate.
we're a bunch of jerks.
No, we love them.
We're a bunch of prima donnas. I know it. I'm fine with it. Very cool. How long? Sorry,
Oh God! So I came out to my partner in June of 2018. So, and I started hormones in May
oh
of
wow.
2019. So I'm like 4.5 years on hormones. I was active duty at the time when I came out and started transitioning. So that was May in 2019, about 4.5 years. I had my BA in 2021. So my boobies. I had orchiectomy in 2021 as well. I had FFS in 2022 and 20 yeah, both in 2022, 2 rounds of it. And then I'm having
Who'd
surgery
you go
next.
with? Oh, who'd you go with for FFS?
Dr. Tommy Liu out of the Polyclinic in Seattle. He's really good.
Oh, very cool.
In case you can't tell.
I am, as you can tell, still very much in the healing process for mine. From yesterday was a month since I had mine.
Oh, gotcha. Ouch.
Out in LA. So
Yeah.
that's why I look like this.
Well, I still think you're pretty.
So why did you need 2 rounds of FFS? What'd they do between the 2 rounds?
So Dr. Liu's method was, one, he's a solo practitioner, so he's not working with another surgeon. So there's some time constraints required when you're doing a lot of bone and soft tissue work. The other thing that was a major factor is I had a 7.5 millimeter frontal setback, and some pretty significant jaw and chin reduction to happen. As well as soft tissue stuff. So with the amount of swelling that was expected with the bone work from my procedure, the plan was to do it into 2 stages. So in the first stage, we did the bone work associated with the surgery, and we waited for 6 months and came back 6 months later to do all the soft tissue stuff once the swelling had gone down for the most part. So it's pretty cool.
Wow.
And when I say pretty cool, I mean like one of the worst things I've ever done.
Yeah. Well,
that doesn't make me excited at all for it.
It's honestly, mine was 8-ish hours, and I don't remember a single thing about it. The only thing I remember is as I was going under, Bree making him turn Fast and Furious freaking theme song on. But
oh my goodness,
that was when Bree told him that my favorite song was the theme song from the Fast and the Furious Tokyo Drift. So when I'm like 5 seconds from going under, that stupid song comes on.
That's
nurses start cracking up.
I'm glad you were able to like wake up.
I am always saying, I was like, Bree, if I died, that would have been the last song I ever heard, and that would have been on you.
Yeah. No, FFS for me, the first round was like super hardcore recovery wise. I had to face you remember Arnold, like Hey Arnold, like the football head kid.
Yeah, football head.
Yeah, I had some serious swelling and lots of pain. Like to the way I say it is putting it in perspective. I had in January of 2020, I had what's called a spontaneous pneumothorax. My lung just decided to pop. And had to go to the hospital, and there was a bunch of series of events and things, but they had to do what's called a scalpel thoracentesis through my 5th intercostal space here on my rib cage to let the air pressure out of my chest, and that was done with like almost no anesthesia, and recovery from FFS was worse than that is how I describe it. But I look at it as a positive. Like if I could do that, I can do anything.
Yeah, honestly, like I feel like because I went and tried to marathon it all. So I did orchiectomy on October 9th, breast augmentation on October 16th, and then FFS on November 8th.
Good Lord.
So all within 31 days.
She had a buy 2 get 1 free coupon.
Yeah, I did.
Hey, I don't kink shame.
And so but yeah, like I tell you, the FFS was, it was the most important one, obviously, because it's like the one that gives you, for me at least, because my face was the most dysphoric part about my body. But yeah, the recovery, especially I wasn't expecting to get as like not angry about it, but like I like there were times where I was like, I want to rip these bandages off right now because I can't breathe. Yeah, did you ever get to that point where you were just like, you were so sick of being bandaged up?
Kind of. So I didn't have any like my nose was already kind of perfect, so we didn't really F with that too much. Sorry. I was very happy with my nose. We didn't touch it. So I didn't have anything stuck up in my nose or restricting my breathing. For me, the thing that was the worst was outside of the pain, right? I had a lot of like throbbing pain in my mouth, especially the incision that went from like, edge of my jawline to the edge of my jawline through my mouth. For me, it was the itchiness on my scalp as it started to heal. So he did a fantastic job with the scar. You can't see it here, but like my scar goes all the way through my hairline. And as it was healing, it was just the itchiest damn thing. And there was nothing I could do to scratch it. Like, it wasn't even that I couldn't touch it. It had knitted, but like my scalp was still numb. So when I would go to scratch it or like gently rub it or pat it or whatever, it wouldn't satisfy the itch because it was still numb, but I was still feeling the itch. That was the worst thing.
Yep. That's how my nose is. I like it will start to itch, and I'm just like, you can't feel it. I can't.
You just gotta suffer.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and the weirdest part is like I touch over here and I'll feel it like over here, and I'm like, what the hell?
So we had some technical difficulties, but Bree, I think my original question was, what's the largest thing you've had in your butthole?
A raccoon?
Oh no, wait, that wasn't the question. That wasn't the question. Sorry.
Gwyn pig?
I was asking. You said you had FFS lined up, so I was curious what you had planned or want to do to your face.
So there's a number of things. I don't know what they can and can't do, but I have a very large forehead that I call a 5 head. I would like to try and get that reduced.
It's not that big. Come on.
I have really sunken in eye sockets. I don't know if they can do anything about that, and I need some some hair transplant stuff that's being covered up very well right now. I like my nose. I don't want anything done with that. So team perfect noses over here. And
Jealous.
I don't know. Maybe throw in a facelift while I'm at it, because I got some city miles on this motherfucker.
I mean, while you're there, right, you might as well do some one-stop shopping. Well,
yeah, right.
Like you've got like a
while
hairline
you're
advancement
in there,
and orbital contouring in your future. That should be exciting. But
yeah,
with Danny and Mika, so Danny, you said you just had FFS. Mika, have you done it, or is that something you're considering? So you're just naturally gorgeous.
I used to want it, but I don't really want it, I guess. But I used to.
Well, the reason I was going to ask is my surgeon. It's the first. He's the first surgeon that I've known to do this. But the method of preparation for the procedure that he does is he basically takes CTs of your face and then 3D prints your skull, and then uses the 3D printed scale version of your skull to make these little guides that he uses in surgery to get like the exact depth. And one of my favorite things about this procedure, actually one of the few things I liked about the procedure, was that I got to keep parts of my skull.
Yes, that's
amazing.
This is what my brow line looked like beforehand.
Wow.
That's my little Neanderthal brow.
Yeah. Oh, I had the same.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. And
I had the same
pretty
thing,
deep,
girl.
orbital sockets, and then there's this whole jaw thing here, which my children, by the way, are convinced is a real human jaw. You can see like these
That's
like
so realistic.
mutton chop bone spurs I had on the bottom of my jaw there,
God.
which like you don't see that anymore. So
no,
is that actual
yeah,
size?
this is scale.
Like that's so cool.
Yeah.
amazing.
So how long? You said
So if I get bottom surgery, will they do a 3D?
That's called Clone-A-Willy, and you have to pay for that, but you can do it.
Oh.
Yeah, my bottom surgery is coming up in February, and I am considering it.
So when you go in for an FFS consultation, do you get to tell the doctor more or less what you want, or does he kind of tell you what he could do?
I mean, I guess it's going to depend on the surgeon, right? My surgeon was very much like, hey, tell me what you want to change, and then I'll give you my opinions as someone who has like training in aesthetics. So we did a bit of both. Yeah. And I told him, these are the things that cause me dysphoria. Like I have this like Captain Quark jaw and like this huge like brow line and shit. And he was like, cool, we can work with all of that. And here's from my perspective. And then he completely proceeded to destroy my self-confidence. He's just like, yeah, like, like the way that your eyes are set back and then your forehead protrudes. And then when you look from the side, like the way that, like he broke down pretty much everything that made me masculine, and was like, I can change this, I can change this. And at that point I was just like, look, dude, like, do you guys have tattoos? Okay, yes. Perfect. I might have a couple. And, my first couple of tattoos, I went in with like a photo of exactly what I wanted. But over time I was eventually like, just make pretty art on my arm, That's kind of the stance that I took with FFS at that point. I was just like, look, dude, you're an artist. I've seen your work. Just do my face. Make it pretty.
That's...
Now, sorry.
That's honestly what, like, because I told somebody the other night I went out to a local trans meetup, and they were like, so how much did you tell your doctor? And I said, nothing. And they said, what? They got so offended for some reason, because apparently my face is their problem. But they were like, you didn't tell him you wanted anything. And I was like, I'm not the doctor. Right. I can say I want this brow, but it's probably going to look really bad on me. I could say I want this jaw. That could look really bad on me. They're the professional. They're the one who knows how to.
Well,
make
it's also
pretty.
not a painting too. Like they understand how like the realistic current expectation of like the current landscape of your face is going to translate with the changes that they're like capable of making. You know?
Yeah, yeah. And basically he was like, "Do you like your nose?" I said, "No." And he said, "Here's what I can do." And I said, "I want everything. Make me my face just fucking do away with it. If you could cut my head off and just give me a pretty head, cool." Like I don't care, honestly. If insurance is gonna pay for
That's
it,
a future I can get
fucking do it.
behind. You know, heads in jars. It's a great idea.
Yeah, just be like, I want
Oh,
that
like
one.
Futurama style, exactly. You know, we'll have President Nixon back. It'll be good.
Love it.
Now, Corinne, when you got your FFS, did you request eyeball enlargements? Because you have like beautiful ginormous
No, it's because I'm a
eyeballs.
mother and I have eyes in the back of my head. But right now they're all like going this way. So. Oh, that was friggin' lame. You can cut that if you want to. No, yeah, I do.
No, but actually, I'm gonna do it on repeat. And we're gonna do a part of our theme song with that. Eyes in the back of my head.
Perfect.
So okay. So I have to ask the question. I've heard that like a lot of trans women who go into the military will go in almost as like a kind of like a beard kind of thing, where it's like you go in almost because you kind of feel like this, like, I don't know why I feel this way about myself, but maybe if I go in and do something hyper masculine like joining the military, it will make me appreciate myself. Is that an accurate statement for you? Is that an accurate statement from what things you've experienced?
It's accurate to a degree. The thing about trans folks, and just kind of, I mean, specifically trans women, but just trans people in general, is that we're not monolithic, right? Like, there's such a wide and varied breadth of experience. And each of us has different views on, like, why they did what they did, or when they knew, or how long they've been a woman, for example. Like, you ask 100 trans women the same question, you'll get 100 different answers. So I'll preface what I'll say about it with that, is that like I don't speak for the community at large, especially like the veteran community. But what I can say from my experience is that yes, I do think that that's largely accurate. When I joined the military, I didn't know I was trans, like as a true visceral fact. I knew I was different. I knew that like I didn't have the words to describe it. You guys are not my therapists, but I grew up in like a super like regressive religious household, like kind of culty, like the snake waving, speaking in tongues sort of stuff. So like didn't have the frame of reference for like what being trans was or meant. So I didn't know, and I mean I knew I was at a minimum bisexual. That was about it. So I joined the Marine Corps in the infantry in 2010. And this was before Don't Ask, Don't Tell was repealed, so you could still get a dishonorable discharge for being openly queer.
That's crazy.
That didn't get repealed until I came home from Afghanistan in 2012. I think it was repealed while I was there in 2011. And then in 2016, the Obama administration, in its like last year or so, made it legal for trans people to openly serve. And that's around the same time I was having this self-discovery and being like, oh shit, I'm a girl. It had been building for a while, but that's when I knew. And then in 2017, the next president decided to announce a ban on trans service members via tweet. And it took the DoD about 2 years to catch up to that insanity. So in February of 2019, that policy went into effect. So I was trying to race the ban through like 2017, 2018 into early 2019 to get the right medical care, to get there's a process by which you go through your transition in the military. There's like really like firmly defined milestones you have to hit. So it was kind of a race against the clock. But I was exempted from the policy and I transitioned while I was in. With that said, I didn't know I was trans at the beginning of it, but I did know that I was deeply uncomfortable in my body and deeply uncomfortable with my gender identity. I had eating disorders from a young age. I was always feeling like I was this like undesirable blob of a human being, and just I couldn't stand being in my own skin. And as I matured and as I went through high school and played some sports and had this opportunity to join the military, my thought process was like, what I need to do is to be like the most masculine, manly man that ever manned, because that'll make me happy. That'll make me feel fulfilled. If I'm like the dudest dude that you could be, then like I'll be
Yeah,
fine.
absolutely.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
I had a 97 on the ASVAB. Had a really high GT score, and the recruiter's like, you could do everything you want to do. And I was like, infantry, let's go to war. So, yeah, um, I'd say it was a bit of a compensation sort of thing. I was, like I said, 10 years in. I was a squad leader for quite some time as, like, you know, as an infantry sergeant. Like, I was very fit, let's say that. I could show you pictures during the after hours if you want to. Like, I had like washboard abs. I was very attractive. Had multiple partners. I had like a lot of things in my life that was really positive, and I was still miserable.
Whew, it's a hot day.
Yeah. So the long story short is the military was compensation for me, but it was kind of subconscious. It was this like effort to be as masculine as I could, and it wasn't until I was like, you know, in the 1,000 pound club in the gym and like leading, you know, infantry marines and pretty much like the archetypical like masculine dude in my mid-20s where I was like, oh, I'm actually the opposite, and like, oh fuck, what did I do? You know?
I mean, like,
What
well,
have I done?
yeah, it's so interesting. I mean, like, you know, I've always told the story about like how I started working out a whole
Yeah.
bunch and like would just I'd do like all this upper body stuff because I was like, if I get really in shape, I'm gonna like this
Yep.
body, and I need to do something to. And you know, I slept around a whole bunch when I was in Austin. I was just smashing left and right. Um, and it never got
No,
better.
it doesn't. But we
Yeah,
also like, and
so
like the gym rat to trans girl pipeline is real, right? But also like we do a lot of damage to ourselves in that process. Like I'm 5 years into my transition, damn near, and I'm still fighting to drop weight, like old muscle mass that I used to have,
yep.
you know. And like I'm still in the gym. Yeah, I mean, like, look, it
Same.
depends, you know. But like I'm much more feminine now, you know what I mean? And like I still go to the gym, I still run, I'm still very fit, right? Um
Yeah, how much are you running?
um Currently right now, like this week it's been
Yeah.
raining like a lot. And while I am a runner,
Yeah.
I'm not a I am a masochist. I'm not that kind of masochist. I don't like wet shoes. So I haven't been
Are we
running
the
this week.
same person?
Huh?
Are we the same
Could
person?
be.
Yeah, because I went
Could
out
be.
for like they told me not to run for like not to do too much strenuous activity, but I was like I'm gonna go crazy if I
Well,
don't
you
put
did
you know
just
at
have
least do
like
a
7
5K.
surgeries, so like I would pace yourself a little bit.
I had to go out for at least one
Yeah,
run.
but on weeks where it's not
So
pouring rain, I typically run between 4 to 6 miles, and my pace post lung explosion, like I mentioned earlier, I had that lung issue a couple of years ago when I had surgery.
yeah,
My pace is slow nowadays. I'm doing about 9 minute miles, which is
that's not bad for six
yeah,
miles for 10K. That's
it's
not
not bad.
bad.
It's
That's
just not. I
actually
used to be
awesome.
like a low sixes sort of pace, so it's different now.
Jeez Louise. Goodness.
That's crazy.
That's crazy.
I wanted to ask, what was transition like in the military? Because when I came out, I was kind of in hiding for about 6 months after starting hormones, and I was scared to go to my car from my front door. So, what was that like in the
Everybody knows your
military?
business, because there aren't very many of. I mean, okay, that's a misnomer. There's a lot of us, right? But in my community specifically, in the Marine Corps, in the infantry, on a very small base, I was stationed in Kaneohe Bay, Hawaii at the time. Um, I was the only active duty trans person on the island at the time when I came out. At least as far as the Marine Corps is concerned, I don't know what the hell the Navy was doing, or the Army. But it was awkward. There's a lot of you have to get really comfortable with people knowing like the intimate details of your personal life, like super quick. The way it works, at least the way it worked pre-ban, you would need to get a diagnosis of gender dysphoria from your military medical healthcare provider, your mental health counselor, whatever. And I mean, there have been dissertations written about the difficulties for accessing mental health resources for active duty service members. Like that's not something that we have time to go into, but it's hard to get that treatment. So like to start things out, I was overseas when I started going to therapy, and the only way I was able to do that without my command being notified was a friend of mine who was a medic was able to sneak me off to get seen, which was helpful.
you don't have HIPAA rights
Oh,
when you're in the military. Anyone who's a staff NCO or above with the right clearance from your command can access your medical records if it's determining to be like a detriment to readiness.
I guess that makes sense because you wouldn't want somebody being like
Sure,
semi-suicidal
yeah,
there.
exactly. Except they don't actually care about those things. They just use it to fuck people over. At least that's my opinion.
Just make sure, like,
Um,
yeah, we don't care if you're suicidal, but are you trans?
Yeah.
Get out of
So,
here.
oh, and it depends. You know, like I will bash the process a bit because it's archaic and shitty. But it's also like it really depends on your command. So the long story short is after that first process, after 6 months of this counseling, and I finally got my diagnosis. The next thing that happens is your chain of command is notified. But like, hey, there's a trans person in your unit, and there's this whole process that has to start. So I was a sergeant. I don't know if you're familiar with like the military stuff. Like, there's enlisted and officers. I was somewhere in the middle, like low middle bracket of the enlisted bracket at the time. And my colonel gets notified. His name was Mike Stiskel. He's kind of an imposing dude. He's real tall. I had seen him pick up a staff sergeant by his plate carrier doing a live fire range and just shake him and yell at him at one point. He was a pretty intimidating guy. So I got a text from the colonel that he wanted to talk to me the next day. This was like right after getting my diagnosis. And fortunately for me, it was a really positive conversation. He had brought in certain people from the chain of command, other leaders, and was basically like, hey, like, we are going to follow the process by the letter. We're going to, do exactly what the order says. And you are going to do exactly what the order says through this process. And in exchange, no one is going to fuck with you, like, while I'm taking care of this. Like, you're going to be a shining example of what a proper transition looks like in the military. And I mean, that's what we did. So it was, my command was very helpful. I have really positive experiences with my colonels that were the people that were in charge. As far as like the actual process, though, it sucks. Like, the command has to build out a transition plan, and then once they have that transition plan, it gets sent over to Navy Transgender Care Team West, wherever the hell that is in San Diego, and then they have like 2 months to review it and put together like a medical treatment plan for you, and then that gets sent back to your command, and they have like 90 days to review it and sign it, and you have to get like 5 different signatures where it's like, I'm gonna have this surgery, and I'm gonna do this, and I'm gonna do this, and TRICARE will cover this, and then once you get all of that done, you can start taking hormones. But
Damn.
your gender marker in the personnel system will still say your birth sex on it until after that. Plus, you've got like this requirement. So, like, now you can start hormones, but you can't change your gender marker until you get 2 forms of federal government ID updated to show your proper name and gender marker, and then bring it to DEERS. DEERS is the personnel system, along with like a letter from your chain of command stating like, yes, I allow this person to change their gender marker. And while that's all happening, you still have to cut your hair short. You still have to PT on like the male PT standards. And I'm sure y'all know, like, when you start taking estrogen, your physical fitness starts to take a fucking dive. Yeah, so I started hormones in May of 2019, and I wasn't able to start growing out my hair until September of 2019. And all the while, I'm like wandering around base, like, in my off uniform, like my off duty time, like wearing a dress with like a high and tight. You know what I mean? So, like, definitely not an
Yeah.
experience I'd repeat, but we got through it.
Did the other people in your squad and your
Unit,
whatever your
you
like
could say unit. That
your
works.
unit, yeah, in your unit, did they mess with
Honestly, for
you?
the
Did
most part,
they
people
were
were
they
great.
supportive?
Did they hit on you?
Yes. So there was there
Duh.
Really?
it was a mixed bag. It was honestly surprising. Most of the people I was serving with at the time were really cool about it. There were some exceptions,
Nice.
but I had a good reputation. That, like I said, I was a sergeant. I was well respected. I had a couple of extra billets in addition to my leadership role. Like, people knew me and knew what I was capable of. So when I came
Yeah.
out, a lot of people, like, honestly, mostly the reaction was just surprise. But what were they going to say? Like, I had been in the Marine Corps for 8 years
Yeah.
at that point. Like, are they going to talk shit? Like, I was a badass.
I mean, yeah, like I feel like if most people that have
Yeah.
a good experience, if you're a good
Yeah,
person, people are going to
exactly.
be like, hey, you know what?
I was
Like,
well
you're not
known in my
hurting
unit and
me.
well liked, so that really came to
Yeah.
my favor. I will say that the folks that I served with in my previous units, like especially like the guys that I went to Afghanistan with, I've lost contact with most of them. When I came out, a lot of them took it really hard. And fuck them, right? If they can't take a joke, I don't give a shit. But like,
Wait,
go ahead.
they took it hard. What do you mean? Like
Most of the
why
folks that I
like
went
I
to
guess
Afghanistan with from my in my first duty station when I was a 3rd Battalion, 6th Marines at a
Okay.
Camp Lejeune, did not like the fact that I came out as trans. I don't know what their problem is. I've reached
yeah.
out
It's
to
like
a
wait,
couple
why
of
would
them,
yeah.
but I think it's maybe just an older, more conservative generation. I don't know. But yeah, I've
Yeah.
lost contact with most of those folk,
Yeah.
but the vast majority of people I served with have been fine about it. And yes, Mika, there have been a couple of people that I served with, one or two right around when I started coming out, but a lot more since time has gone on that have hit me up and been like,
Oh
"Hey,
yeah.
what's up? Like, you still got that dick?"
We do.
And I'm like, that's not how you start a conversation, right? Like, you normally buy me a drink first, at least.
You still
I
got
have
that
I
dick.
have a military question
Sure.
that I've always been curious about. When you're there and you want to like self pleasure, how do you do that?
So
when
this
you're in
is
the military?
disgusting. I mean, you want to hear about this?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
duh.
Like,
Yes. Yes, apparently we do.
all right. If you're in training or you're on like a large base, like you're talking about like in you're like forward. You're not like in a barracks or like in your housing, right? Because like on base, you're not living in tents. But like
Oh, you're not?
no, you have a house. My house on Kaneohe Bay.
It's not like Forrest Gump where everyone just
Yeah,
has like
my
cots all
house
over the place?
on Kaneohe Bay was base housing. I didn't pay for it, and I could throw a rock out my front door and hit the Pacific Ocean. It was quite nice. But
Nice.
when you're in the
Love
field,
that.
right, or you're forward deployed, you're
In the field.
overseas, you're out there, and you're kind of in the boonies. Yeah, sometimes you just gotta crank one out, and you do it where you can get away with it. The thing is, though, is that I mean, you're surrounded by people that also have the same needs, and everyone's doing it, so who gives a fuck? So like, you'll have outside of a combat zone, generally speaking, you'll have porta johns nearby. So the porta johns are usually where that sort of thing happens, and that's gross. Sometimes you're in austere environments, like a hole in the middle of a woods, in a fighting position, and you just got to do what you got to do.
Is that what they call it?
It's your turn in the barrel.
Exactly.
Do soldiers ever like help each other out?
Yeah, I mean that happens. Yeah, that
It
happens.
happens?
But like, you try to
Thanks.
keep it quiet. Did I ever do that? No. I'm kind of like prissy when it comes to being clean, so like, not my thing. Also, especially like when it was mostly dudes or all dudes, like, you know what MREs are?
Yeah, medical
Yes.
Leonard.
Yeah.
MREs, like meals ready to eat, like the field
Yeah,
rations you
meals ready
get.
to eat.
Yeah.
Those things back you up
Yeah.
like really bad. No one's out there bottoming. Okay, like it's a hard time.
Oh my god, it's rough
Hi,
out
Mom.
there. God.
That
Hey, Mom.
is just oh,
No, the thing
Mika
is
was
that
a
like
question.
we that's just stuff that like folks in the military like joke about, but like don't like bat an eye at because like what's the point? It's one thing if you go out to the field for a week, right? You go out into the woods or the desert or the jungle, whatever, for a week. Like no one's cranking their hog. Like who cares, right? It's just a week. You're out there for 6, 7 months, 9 months, 12 months. Like you're gonna nut. You're just gonna find a way. Life finds a way. In the great words of Jeff Goldblum, okay? Life finds a way. So it's a reality of the situation.
Oh my god.
So, and that's not the worst thing that happens in the porta johns. Honestly, the funniest thing / worst thing that happens in the porta johns out there are graffiti. I love the graffiti. You see some really fantastic graffiti. There's especially across the Marine Corps. There's a catchphrase that everyone graffitis everywhere, no matter what you do. Like you walk into a porta john and there's no graffiti on the walls. The first thing you do is you take out a Sharpie and you write "Wagner loves cock." No one knows who Wagner is or why he loves the cock, but he does, and it goes on every porta john. Like it's everywhere you could put graffiti. I was in Afghanistan. We were at this patrol base, and you have this rotation, right? So each squad is on a rotation, and you're either out patrolling, or you're on like post, like guard duty, or you're resting and on like quick reaction force, whatever. So I was on a post that's like this large wooden platform with like some pieces of bulletproof glass around it and sandbags with a machine gun up there. We had just taken over this patrol base from a different unit, and I was standing up in this post for the first time. And I'm bored, and I'm looking around, and right above my head on the wooden bar, there's just this black arrow pointing to the right. I was like, what is that? And I followed it over, and there's another arrow pointing down along the post. So you're like, what is this? And it's going behind a sandbag. So you move the sandbag, and then there's another arrow going this way. So you move that sandbag, and there's one pointing down. You move that sandbag, and someone had written "Wagner loves cock" underneath like 4 sandbags. And it's just like, why?
It's not related at all to that Russian military group, is it? The Wagner?
No, this is like from the 1980s.
Oh,
yeah,
really?
It's been around for a long time.
That's
So somebody named Wagner must have really liked Dick.
I can see it. You're just moving those sandbags, and you finally get to it, and you're God damn it.
Well, you got to do something to keep yourself busy. But yeah, so the best one I ever saw was on Camp Hansen in Afghanistan. It's this big, large base where everyone flies in and out of before going out like further. And I went into this porta-john, and somebody had taken multicolored Sharpies and did like it was like a cathedral dick. It's the best way to describe it. Someone had drawn like a full size, like from the back of the toilet to the ceiling of the porta potty, like a stained glass window penis, and it had like it was like photorealistic, and it had wings and a halo and little worshippers at its balls at the bottom, and it's just like a work of art, Like somebody went in there, some Marine went in there for like 3-4 hours and just cranked that thing out. It's fantastic.
So Danny, Danny, can I start calling you Wagner?
Yeah, I do.
I thought you said the after hours thing was when things got spicy. We got spicy pretty quick.
Oh, right. Sorry.
We can get
this isn't the spicy part.
Gotcha.
Yeah, we can get worse.
It's always a mixed bag, especially when we get on a roll. Friday night when we have some of these non-alcoholic beers, we get real randy. So you said your partner. Were you together with your partner before you transitioned?
She and I have been married since 2012.
Oh, really? Okay.
So we're 11 years married.
Wow.
We've been together. Yeah, we've been married for 11 years, and we've been together for 13 years. And we were childhood friends. Like, there's photos of us together at like 4, which is pretty cool.
Okay, that makes sense. That makes sense as to why it like lasts.
Well, kind of.
I think
we're like soulmates, and like that sounds cheesy, but it's real, And I told her that I was trans, like over Zoom, like on a deployment, which was probably not the best way to do it, but like. She took it well, and there was still an adjustment period. There was about a year and a half where things were kind of shaky. It was never like, I don't think it was ever like, are we going to split up? It was a lot more like, what does the future look like? And we both had a lot of misconceptions about like how we would each perceive each other and the various different struggles associated with transitioning. For example, like we had 2 kids at the time when I came out to her, and we conceived our third right before I started hormones, which was hilarious. But it was just like we were worried that our kids would get bullied. We were worried about losing my career and what that would mean for our family. We were worried about a lot of different things. So there were some serious concerns, but we worked through them, and I'd say our relationship is stronger now than it ever was. So it worked out.
That's awesome. I love hearing stories like yours because it's like the fairy tale ending to it.
Yeah.
It's like there's so many other roads that it can take.
Yeah,
like
and I'm cognizant of the fact.
And Danny's.
I'm cognizant of the fact that mine is not like the story ending that most people get. And I try to be really consistent with that messaging because I do post about it a lot and I talk about my family and I try to put that positive message out there because one of the things that I needed at the beginning of my transition was positive stories. I needed to see people that like made it. You know what I mean? And I didn't see a lot of that. And it was one of the reasons I have been really public about my transition. But I am cognizant of the fact that my story's a little bit different, and I try to couch my statement in like, hey, like we got really lucky. Like I got very, very fortunate to still have my partner, and there were other factors involved. Like our orientations, for example, were aligned. Like we're both bi, so like if she had been straight, it probably wouldn't have worked out, and that wouldn't have been either of our fault, right? But that's like the reality of it. So I do feel like you have to manage expectations with people, especially like baby trans people who are like at the beginning coming out and looking for advice. Like, I can't coach you on saving your marriage. It's gonna be a lot of like work and a lot of like understanding each other. And at the end of the day, if the stars don't align, you have to find peace with that.
Yeah.
So there's like, we have talked to a lot of people, and I have talked to a lot of people like personally on the side, and I know of maybe 4 couples that have stayed together.
It's pretty rare.
You're one of them. It is like hyper rare in the stars.
Yeah.
Like, it's nuts.
Well, and like I feel like for the most part, like the majority of the stories I hear is not so much that even it ends, but like that it ends violently. Almost not, I mean, not like actually violently.
It explodes.
But like, yeah, like I mean, so, and I even did an apology video. My ex-wife is a fantastic person, and I'm not going to say anything negative. But when we split up, it was I'm out. And she rolled. There was no like, oh, we could give this a shot. Yeah. So I think my advice, whenever anybody asks like what to do, I was like, I generally tell people you're probably gonna get divorced.
It's just a likelihood at that point.
Yeah.
Sorry for reaching into my camera. My phone's dying, so I gotta plug this shit in.
But it's honest, I guess.
There we go.
That's but that's amazing that you have that's such a good story, especially about like having your kids and everything, and especially I think where you are in the Washington area.
We moved here specifically because we wanted to have like a safe life for our kids and for us.
Yeah.
Washington is a safe haven for trans folks. Western Washington, at least. The closer you get to Idaho, you start to kind of run into more and more fascists, and that's why I say stay strapped or get clapped. But over here in Western Washington, it's a little bit better. It's a lot better, actually. And the state laws here are super permissive, super good. There's like actual protections baked into the state constitution for trans and queer folk here, as opposed to other states where you're kind of at the whim of the legislature. So it's a good place to be. Yeah. We moved here because there's a larger queer presence. And because Amazon was here, and because as I was getting out of the Marine Corps, I was like, I gotta work for a company that's gonna like take care of me and let me get like the right health insurance, have the right environment, like do those things. So
that's the FFS a couple of the FFS doctors that I talked to, I was asking about like, do you take insurance? And they're like, do you work for Amazon or Google? And I was like, no. And they were like, well, then we're not gonna work with your insurance.
I have paid $45 for every surgery I've had.
Yeah, I think I think for all 3 so far of mine, I think I'm probably at like a couple $100 maybe.
It's not bad.
But
what the fuck?
Got some big old boobies now and a new face.
I had to pay a big copay for my boobies. I had to pay a whole $300.
Yeah, I got my deductible down with my Orky.
What the hell? I had to pay like $1,500 for my Orky.
Really?
Yeah.
My dog's Orky was cheaper.
I know. I tried to find a veterinarian that was shady, but it didn't work.
Danny, for your Orky, if you don't mind me asking, did you do like the tissue preserving type or the aesthetic type?
I don't remember. I mean, like kind of like with my face.
Do you still have extra skin down there?
Yeah, you did.
Yeah, like honestly,
tissue preserving.
Okay.
We
everybody
both did.
says it's good for tucking. Mine is not because I still have a giant bulge.
Well, like so, the reason I'm asking is because the difference is if you do an Orky with the intent to do bottom surgery further down the road, it's better to do the tissue preserving type because you have more tissue to create your genitalia afterwards with, right? As opposed to people who are like dead set not going to do bottom surgery, whatever, they can do a more aesthetic type of orchiectomy where you have the scrotal tissue removed and a more like streamlined sort of look. So I was just curious as to which you did.
No, yeah, I mean, like the ultimate goal is bottom surgery, just because like I mean everybody who I've met who's been like, hey, you should keep it. It's just wants to have sex with me. They don't care.
Yeah, that's a common experience.
They don't actually care if I keep it. I will say the thing I'm going to miss though is being able to stand up to pee because I still do that.
No, like I don't do it regularly. Like I like to sit to pee, and it's often like the time I'll pull out my phone and watch my little funny TikToks and stuff, But like, it's nice as a utility function, right? Like if you need to pee,
you're outside.
Yeah, you go running or camping or hiking like I do. Like, I don't have to find a bush to squat in. I'll just piss. And then I can surprise everybody that I'm hiking with because they have no idea. It's fantastic.
Hell yeah, girl.
Is this a normal thing for anybody else? When you stand up and pee, do you ever like try to pee for distance?
I do. No.
Still,
Like you stand like 5 or 6
When I
feet
was
back
like
from the toilet,
8,
you're like, I know I could Kobe this. Kobe.
when I was 8, yeah, maybe. I do have a 4-year-old son.
Yeah, 8.
He's like our only boy,
I still
and
do
he's like already doing shit like that. So I guess it's just in the blood. I don't know.
I did like to like back up as I was doing it and like try to go back and forth and see how far.
And then you're like running back towards it near the end.
Maybe I'm too much of a
It's like one of those carnival games.
And
where you
as
have to
the
choose,
oldest
like,
one
clown
here,
in the mouth.
How old are we?
22.
I've been 25 for 13 years.
Okay, Mika,
38.
Bree.
36.
Wait, Mika, you're not 38, are you?
I am.
Are you older than me?
I am.
No, you're not. No, you're not. No, you're not. No, because I'm
that's how
January.
math works.
You're June. I'm January. You're June. I'm older.
Oh, you're 38 also? I thought you were 37.
No.
Yeah.
Yay!
I'll be 37
I'm the
in
youngest.
February.
That's exciting.
Yeah.
Congratulations.
Congratulations. You're our first guest to get kicked off the
Sweet.
podcast.
I was really going for that record. That's awesome.
Here's the boot.
So, is it time for the Mika minute?
No, I have another question.
Wait,
about
what's the
peeing.
Mika minute?
You'll find
What the
out.
fuck?
Yeah.
Okay, fine.
Okay. Do you ladies pee in the shower?
No.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No?
Unless I'm like really
I'm
drunk
the
or
only
really
one who
high.
uses the shower, so of course.
Oh. Wait, what about pooping in the shower? That's not right. You kind of stamp it down the drain with your toes?
Don't they call that like a waffle stomp?
Well, you seem really familiar with the practice. I think we have our answer on that one.
Oh, yeah. I know exactly what I'm doing.
like that joke? It's like, hey, what's the difference? It's two guys talking, and one of them looks at the other one and goes, "Hey, what's the difference between curtains and toilet paper?" And the other guy goes, "I don't know what." And he goes, "So it was you."
Oh, that's good.
So,
Okay, ready for the Mika minute?
yeah, let's do the Mika minute. Here we go.
Actually, Bree and I came up with a theme song. Bree, would you like to sing it? And then I'll get started with my...
Did we
after
come
you,
up
Bree.
with a theme song?
Did we?
Did you?
Did we?
I was trying to put you on the spot. I want to see.
Okay, yeah, no, I'm on it.
Okay, Corinne. As you have realized probably by now that we ask a lot of trans-related questions, but I always say that we are so much more than just our gender. So I'm going to ask you a few questions just to get to know you a little bit better on a more personal
I like it.
But they're fun questions. There's nothing too serious or anything like that. Just how
But
you would
no
answer.
more
Okay?
waffle stomping questions is what you're getting at.
No promises. Do you want to hear all the questions first, or do you want to answer
Let's go.
one at a time? Okay, first question. What was the best Christmas gift you ever received?
That's difficult. The boots I'm wearing right now. I got them last year. They're my favorite boots. I'll show you. They look like that.
Okay.
But
Ooh,
they're just they're my
yeah.
favorite boots.
Really
And so yeah, that's pretty high up there.
Okay, that was fast. How about, do you have any special or unique hidden talents?
Not ones that I'll reveal on this podcast. Next question.
Maybe.
Oh, man. Okay. Okay, if you were gifted $1 million, but you had to spend it all in 12 hours, what would you
A lot
buy?
of guns and new cars for the family. Plane tickets for like a world trip. What else? I would send my parents a check for $1.50. And then I'm no contact with my folks, so I would do that for sure. Just like here's some.
You and your wife aren't E&M, are you?
We are. But yeah. We can talk about that in the extra hour if you want.
Cool.
But yeah, I think I would be able to spend it pretty efficiently. We would do some travel. We'd upgrade our vehicles. I think I'd pay off a chunk of the house, and then buy some guns.
Yeah,
Nice.
a lot
You answered it so fast, so I'm
of
gonna add-
Barretts.
I'm I'm going to add a very rare fourth question, just because you answered them so quickly. It's a two-parter. You have a lot of tattoos on your body. What is your favorite tattoo, and do you have any tattoos that you regret?
Okay, I'll answer the second part first. This tattoo here is just older. It's like one of my oldest tattoos, and it's just like pretty faded. It's like aged, and it was kind of a dumb tattoo in the first place. Doesn't look great. Doesn't look like I wanted it to. So that's the only one I really I guess. And this one here, like now that I've transitioned, I like my chest rocker looks fine, but I wish that I had like more real estate here to do like a big huge floral piece like up to my throat. That would have been like ideal, but I might do a cover up here, so we'll see. My favorite tattoo, there's two answers to this question. My best tattoo is this sleeve that I have here. It's really pretty work, as you can see, and it was partially done in Japan.
That is pretty.
Which was cool. My other favorite tattoo is one of my worst. I have a really shitty anglerfish tattooed on my left foot, and it's bad. A friend of mine, while I was in the Marine Corps, a fellow sergeant had gotten a tattoo machine while we were on a deployment in Okinawa, Japan, and we were like locked in the barracks for like 4 days during this huge typhoon. We had nothing to do. All of us were wasted on soju, and he was just like, "Can I practice tattooing on your foot?" And I was just like, "Fuck yeah, give me an anglerfish." And that's how I woke up after that 4-day bender, was with an anglerfish tattoo on my left foot. And so that one's one of my faves too.
That's freaking awesome.
It's amazing. What the
hell is that? For the future tattoos? Any future plans?
Yeah, so yes. I actually just found out today that I got accepted into law school, and in the next couple of years, what I'm trying to do is pivot my career towards law, which is exciting. There's a lot that's moving towards that. But with that said, throat tattoos are probably out. So if I had my druthers, I would have everything from my neck down tattooed completely. But it's very likely that I'll stop at the wrists and ankles. But yeah, I'm going to tattoo my entire body.
Nice. All right, this is a tattoo podcast now. What was the most painful tattoo?
Everyone thinks that when you get a sleeve, it's this spot, this little ditch in your arm. But honestly, the worst spots were the top of my foot, wasted on soju regardless, and this little bit right here on my wrist. There's some pretty heavy shading there on my wrist. That spot was just the absolute pits. Like, sternum sucks, the inner arm sort of area here sucks, but like the wrist and the foot were really rough.
What I hear most is anywhere that it's on bone, like rib cage or anything of that nature.
That's exactly what it is. It's where you have like the factors there are high concentrations of nerve endings, as well as less padding between the skin and the bone, and there's another thing. Proximity to digits. That's a big one.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
What about boner? Can you tattoo your?
You can tattoo your wiener. It's not something. Mine is not long for this world, so I wouldn't waste the money on it. But yeah, you can tattoo it. Mine has an execution date.
Get like, bye.
Bye. Well, bye.
Bye, penis, Alicia.
So I don't have any tattoos, but there's three things that I would actually really want to tattoo, but I probably never will. First one is I'm a huge Ninja Turtle fan, and if anyone remembers the 80s, 90s cartoons, Krang. The robot. He had a stomach section missing, and there's a brain in there. So I thought that'd be a cool tattoo.
Yeah, nothing would help you get laid more than that. That's for sure.
Maybe tattooing abs so that I never actually have to do crunches, but I would always.
Okay, really good plan. I like it.
And then the last one is, remember those old magazines where you could fold it, the two ends, and it makes a picture?
Yeah.
I would like to do that on my belly, where I could fold it in, and it's like a whole.
I respect that.
You just fold it into one ab.
Yeah, there you go.
I want to get y'all's opinion on this because I do want to kind of get it, but I wanted to get a whole bunch of like on my arm, whichever one I don't write on. This is my right arm. Like a whole bunch of game boards, like tic-tac-toe board, like a pig pen board, a Connect 4 board, and that way, like when you're bored at a restaurant or something, you basically hey, you want to play?
You have a cell phone, right?
I mean, yeah, but that's not as fun. It's not as fun as being on. Yeah, nobody wants to.
I just feel like that's like a party trick that you use once. You know what I mean? You're just like, hey, let's play tic-tac-toe. And people are like, ah.
Well,
and then the next time you're out with that
group, you're like, let's play
tic-tac-toe. And you're like, Danny, put your arm
everybody,
away.
yeah, but I mean, tic-tac-toe sucks, because I mean, it's determined.
Yeah, I mean, if you could get a tattoo to run Doom, then that would be a different story.
Honestly, challenge accepted.
Yeah, but you can run Doom on a microwave nowadays, so it's like, it's a low bar.
That's
I saw
true.
somebody run Dune on a pregnancy test.
I wouldn't be surprised.
Oh my God, Danny, you could put a Raspberry Pi in your arm.
I'm getting one. It should be here in the new 5 is coming.
That's awesome.
Engineers.
Because I'm moving to either. Actually, I have an interview next week with this company out in Seattle. They sell stuff a lot. They have websites.
A company that sells stuff a lot? That's amazing. Tell me
on
more.
the internet.
Yeah.
They sell things. You can go and you can buy all this, like buy anything, and it's like they help with this thing called like Prime.
Oh,
or something
gotcha.
like that, but
Well, let me know
today.
offline if you need some help with that. I can help you with interview prep.
This is my on-site, so my on virtual
Oh,
on-site.
okay.
So I did the 2 other ones.
Awesome. Well, good luck.
But I'm hoping nobody at Capital One sees this, because then they're going to be really upset that they don't.
Chances
really
are
like
low,
it.
probably.
We'll cut that part out.
Yeah.
Yeah, right.
But anyways, yeah. So it was like Seattle or New York or LA, and I'm like, I should probably have less things, because I just have a bunch of crap like this all around the apartment, and like it can just keep getting more.
Yeah.
So okay, law school. Are you going to stay in Seattle for that, or are you gonna? I mean, you don't have to say like what school.
Yeah, so
but
I'm actually not in Seattle. I'm in Olympia, which is about an hour south.
yeah,
but like,
sorry, yeah,
no, it's
yeah.
totally fine. Like when you're not from here, when you say like Washington, people are like, "Oh, you're from Seattle." It's like, yeah, pretty much.
Yeah.
I'm about an hour south along the Puget Sound, right outside the capital. So yes, the short answer is yes. I'll be staying here. The program that I applied for is a Flex JD program, and it's designed like you know kind of how like an executive MBA is like when you already have a career, and it's an MBA, but it's like built around your work schedule, like the expectation that you're working a 9 to 5, and so this is it's a law school program that's designed around that. The one I got accepted to today was Seattle U, and I'm very excited about that. I'm also waiting to hear back from a couple of other schools, so fingers crossed, we'll see. But yeah, no, I want to get into law. There's a really long story to it. The shorter version of that is basically like the rest of you, I'm disgusted by some of the shit that I see in the legislative actions being taken across multiple states and potentially at the federal level. And I think that having more trans voices in courtrooms, in litigation, driving legal theory towards these things, the better. And so, my personal opinion, and I've made some allusions to like, haha, buy more guns and stuff, but like, hey, seriously, if you live in a red state, buy a gun and learn how to use it, because like, things are not so great right there, right now. And my opinion is, if we're not fighting this, we're letting it happen. And there's a couple of different ways to fight it. I'd much rather fight it in a way that doesn't land me in federal prison or dead. So the way I am choosing to fight it is with an education and with a career shift. So yeah, that's my long-term goal, is to get into public policy and LGBTQIA rights, civil rights litigation, stuff like that. So for now, I'll stay with my current company, go through school, graduate. I might do my first couple of years at this company as a corporate counsel, and then eventually move into some type of private practice or state or federal position and start litigating.
Wow.
That's
hell yeah. Get it, girl.
fucking awesome.
Kind of excited.
Yeah, I'm excited. Damn.
Yeah. Like I feel like such a slug over here compared to everything you're doing. It's like, damn it. Just shit. That's very cool. Yeah, like I mean, like you were saying, yeah, it's so interesting how I feel like there's a lot of voices out there that are very vocal but not doing anything about it. Like there's a bunch of people, especially around the Central Virginia area. I know at least the people that I surround myself with, they're all very opinionated, and then it's like, oh, cool. So you're gonna go like run for office or something, vote even, and they're like, no,
right, exactly. Like that's part of the problem, right? And there's an understandable aspect to that where people feel helpless. Like, what are you going to do if the law is not on your side? Or what are you going to do if there are institutional barriers to your progress or to the things that you need to get done? Or what are you going to do when police have a lopsided reputation when it comes to how they respond to right-wing protests versus left-wing protests? And you know that the chances of having your face punched in by a fucking officer in a SWAT uniform is much higher if you're marching for a cause that's aligned with something on the left, as opposed to marching with the fucking Proud Boys. So there are institutional barriers in place, and a lot of that has to do with the systems of power, the structures of power that we need to fight in the first place. So I get it. From a lot of people's perspectives, it's daunting. And for me, it's just like, yeah, I live in a safe state. Like, yeah, I have a really solid career. I have, like, a wife and kids, and I pass, and, like, I could just go, like, wander off and just live my life and not care about other people like me. But it's like, I feel like I have to do something. So, yeah.
That's
There's
awesome.
far too many nudes of me online for me to run for office, so this is the next best thing.
That's same.
You have nudes online? And what was your screen name again?
I don't recall.
Dude, I do not recall.
Sorry, I was going to ask you a question, but wow, that just wiped my mind. No, I live in Charlottesville, Virginia, so I don't know if you know.
Yes, I'm aware.
Remember there's March. Yeah. So that was right. I was actually I was downtown when that car hit that girl. But yeah, it's so like, of course around here it's very like everything is very hyper politicized, and we everybody's got all the various opinions, and Virginia's kind of turning into a red state now because
it's always been a purple state. If we're being honest, Virginia has always been purple, right? And I think that politics make a lot of people uncomfortable. And my answer to that is like, good, get uncomfortable, because everything that you care about is politics, whether it's marijuana legislation, whether it's civil rights. Unless you are a wealthy, rich white man in this country, you should give a shit about politics, and it should be central to a lot of the conversations you're having, especially with new friends. Because, like, I feel like when we were all growing up, politics was something that you could agree to disagree on a lot of different topics. Today's polarized environment is not something that's conducive to agreeing to disagree. Like, one of the reasons I'm no contact with my parents is, well, when my mother specifically, my father's a different story. But my mother, anyways, is like, she's this like hardcore Trump supporter who's like really into right-wing politics and all this stuff. And she's like, well, we're just going to have to agree to disagree. And I'm like, your party wants to genocide me. And like, we can't agree to disagree when my mother is voting for the people that want to take my children away from me and say that I'm a sexual predator because I'm living my truth. Like, we can't agree to disagree on that. We can agree to disagree on economic policy. You know what I mean? We can talk about NAFTA and like have a family little conversation about this and be like, oh, okay, well, I don't want to argue. We can't agree to disagree on that. And we have to speak for ourselves.
They justify it. They justify it, but I mean, and I hope they're not watching, but my dad's new wife is, I went to their house a couple of times, and as I walk in, there's fucking Tucker Carlson on the TV, just like spouting about how we're groomers and everything. And, of course, like they see me and they change it to CNN because they got to have something on. But, I noticed that they like, I mean, I'm pretty sure they do the same voting thing. And it's like, but they justify it. They're like, oh, well, but I like the tax incentives. And it's like, yeah, but like, so you have me get killed.
And that's why I went no contact with my mother. It's just like, I'm not going to argue this with you. Like, if you're going to be like, well, I vote Republican because of abortion and blah, 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 blah. I'm like, I don't care. I'm your daughter. And if you can't see the injustice in, continuing to support this party that wants to do harm, physical harm, emotional, legal harm to your daughter, the product of your own womb, then you and I can't have a relationship. Because we're not operating on the same intellectual playing field at that point. You know what I mean? Like, I can't, as a mother of 3 kids, I can't wrap my head around being in support of anyone that would harm my children. And regardless of the issue, if they were like, we're going to give free blowjobs to everyone in America, and Taco Tuesdays is going to be a national holiday, and everyone gets free tacos, and like all of your debt is gone. Oh, but by the way, all the blondes are getting executed tomorrow. I would be like, well, my middle daughter is blonde, and while that other stuff sounds great, I'm sorry, gonna not vote for you.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, I mean, and honestly, yeah, that's the one thing. Is like they're like, I can look beyond that. He's a sexual predator. I can look beyond he's a tax cheat. I can look beyond the fact that he wants to kill off everybody because I get tax breaks. And it's like you're you're such a selfish single issue voter versus if they do one thing wrong, that pushes me away. But for them, they do one thing right and it sucks them back in. And it's like, wow. Dick.
Yeah. So anyway, sorry to go off on the tangent, but I do think it's something that we need to talk about these things because they matter.
God, you were just the fucking hottest person. Jesus.
I know, it's outrageous. I did make this deal with the devil back in 2019, so I have 4 good years left. There was 9 years on the deck, so it worked out.
All right. If I'm out there by February, then I got you. God, I'm thirsty as shit. Well, that's no, I love it. That's super interesting, and yeah, like you're saying, it's good to make people uncomfortable sometimes, because sometimes, especially if we're gonna make any change, need to affect it.
Yeah. Well, we need to. If I can just add one last thing here, it isn't enough about having these conversations. A lot of it has to do with not tiptoeing around things anymore, and coming into a conversation like this with people that you haven't talked with before, or conversations with people not strangers on the street. You don't need to be waving a sign, but we shouldn't dodge around the topics that matter. We should go directly to the fact, my life is at risk. What are you doing about it? Are you my friend? Yeah. Cool. Are we gonna continue to be friends? Are we gonna have a relationship? Cool. You should probably not want me to be genocided. And generally speaking, people aren't thinking of it like that. Generally speaking, people who are voting along those lines are not paying attention to these things, because it's not like Fox News is telling it straight. You know what I mean? Or OAN or Newsmax or whatever the fuck these people are watching. The vast majority of them don't know.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, they think they hear the pie in the sky. Oh, we're getting tax breaks. Yeah. Oh, isn't it so funny?
It's the motorcycle phenomenon. Do any of you ride motorcycles?
Rarely.
Okay. I was a motorcycle rider a lot before I transitioned. I need to get another one. And the thing about riding a motorcycle, right? You'll probably see the stickers, the bumper stickers on people's cars that are look out for motorcycles. People don't see motorcycles when you're on the highway. When you're driving a motorcycle, you see this. People will look right at you and then merge into your lane, right on top of you. And they're not trying to kill you. They just don't see you. We are trained in driver's ed and all the years that we learn how to drive. When you check your blind spots, when you check your lane, when you're shifting, you're looking for other cars. You're not taught to look for motorcycles. And in an environment when there's a lot of visual stimuli, a lot of things coming in and inputs, you don't see the things you're not looking for. There's this really fantastic YouTube video about the gorilla suit experiment, where there's these students that are passing 6 basketballs back and forth in a circle, and the interview starts out with watch the basketballs and count how many passes there are, and the basketballs go back and forth and back and forth, and at the end of it, the guy's like, okay, did you see the man in the gorilla suit? And most people are like, the fuck are you talking about? And it's watch the video again. It's the same video. And while they're passing the balls back and forth, this guy in a gorilla suit comes out in the middle of the circle and waves at the camera and walks back in. Most people don't see it because they're not looking for the dude in the gorilla suit. They're looking for the basketball passes. So this analogy that I'm making here, the motorcycle phenomenon, the gorilla suit phenomenon, is that these people, the vast majority of people who voted for Trump in 2016 or who support these absolute, open, outright fascists that are in power right now, they don't know what they're doing because they're not looking for it. They're not like you and me who are on the butt end of a lot of these policies. So it's up to us to make them aware, but also not alienate them. So that's what I'm getting at. And I'm sorry, I'm just ranting at this point, but it matters.
No,
I mean, don't be.
No, it's really good. Honestly, yeah, I know with my parents, they see people like Blair White and they're like, oh, yeah, this is a trans girl and she's got guns and stuff, and it's very and it's oh, but yeah, she kind of hates us. So anyways, I digress. That's awesome. I think we should we'll definitely I'll hit you up. But we do like to ask a very lighthearted question if that's
sure. Okay. We've been a little heavy for a couple of minutes.
Okay. Mika, do you want to ask it?
What?
Do you want to ask the question?
What question?
The one we ask every episode, and we forgot to
Oh,
last
how big is
episode.
it?
Stop me. No, okay. So, here, I'll go. I got you. Oh,
There it
good
is.
Lord.
This is what's going away.
So, Corinne, what would you say is your transition theme song?
The whole album, Transgender Dysphoria Blues. What's the fucking artist? How am I blanking on this? It's Black Me Out. Against Me. Against
Prince.
Me.
Oh.
The artist is Against Me. The lead singer is trans. She's an absolute rock star. Like an actual punk rock star. Yeah. So Against Me, the album is Transgender Dysphoria Blues, and all of those songs really hit me pretty hard at the beginning of my transition. I was also like at the end of my Marine Corps career and a senior in college at the time, raising 2 kids. I had a lot going on, so most of my time was spent blaring synthwave of various different types at high volume in my ears. That was the other way I got through it. So those are my transition theme songs.
Wow.
Love it.
Hell yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Damn. All
Good
right.
deal.
That's a new answer.
It is a new answer.
Yeah, one specific song that really stands out from that album is called Black Me Out by Against Me, and there's a little exclamation point at the end. You should look it up. It's good stuff.
Okay.
We're gonna have a big. Hang on, I'm gonna do it right like this. Wait, there we go. Okay, I like to do little animations because I am perpetually 5 years old. Apparently, very cool. That's awesome. Well, that's cool. We're digging on. I'm making a playlist on Spotify of everybody's transition theme songs, and we're gonna release it.
Awesome.
At the end of the year. But cool. Well, y'all want to do final thoughts on the regular hours?
Sure.
Sure, I'll go first. My final thought is urinating on yourself may help cure jellyfish stings, but it does not help cure athlete's feet.
That is vital information.
Corinne, it was a pleasure talking to you. I think you're amazing. Bree, final thoughts?
Yeah, absolutely. Corinne, you've been incredibly interesting, and I think you're going to be you're definitely in my top 2 episodes so far. I didn't really see it going this way, and it's been delightful.
Awesome, thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah. This has been amazing. Honestly, I feel like you're like the younger, better looking, funnier, smarter version of me, and I'm like, damn it. You just have all. You're like, it's like all the things I wish I could have done. You're like doing them well. I'm like, fuck. No, it's been awesome to get to hear your story and hear your passion too, because it seems like, I mean, you can see all these people who are like beautiful and like successful on Instagram or whatever, but like they really vapid people. But it's so awesome to know that like there's somebody like you who's a real person. I mean, underneath that fucking gorgeous exterior is something even more.
Deal with the devil. Don't forget it.
Yeah. How many years left? 3?
4 years. 4 years. 4 good years. No. After this, I turn into a crone. No. Thank you, all of you. It was wonderful to have this conversation and to be invited onto the pod. This is my first podcast sort of thing. I haven't done this before, so more than happy to be here. And all of you are awesome. I think that what you said about the Instagram piece, Danny, is kind of revealing, right? Like we have this, there's like these trans spaces on Reddit, Instagram, Twitter, wherever, right? Where there's a lot of this like posturing and like positioning yourself to be like some type of representation of the ideal state as opposed to like a whole person. And some of that is showbiz, and that's cool. Nothing's wrong with that. But I think it's really important for us to like have venues like this where we're like all getting together and actually getting to know each other, share our stories, have these conversations, and really like feel what the experience is like across the board. It makes us more human. I think what you 3 are doing is really neat. So thank you.
Oh. What is this feeling?
Oh,
Well, I had to
damn
say
it.
something
My
to turn all the
heart
nice
grew
words around on you guys. Otherwise, I wouldn't. My therapist would be so disappointed in me if I wasn't deflecting. Like, come on. He'd be like, Corinne, you don't need to see me anymore. And I'd be like, fuck.
Well,
I have a final question.
Send it.
Corinne, will you come back for another episode?
Yeah, fuck it. I
someday?
don't care.
Yeah.
That sounds great.
Okay, go.
Awesome. Love to have you back.
we may need to have a follow up on like how everything's going because I feel like that you have there's so much in your future just from like what you've told us about and what we've been able to see is like I think you're going places, so we'd love to have you back.
I appreciate it.
Yeah,
So-
and I guess I have one more question.
Send it.
How do you feel about Missouri?
What about Missouri?
Oh,
I don't feel about Missouri, if that's the question.
We'll hit you up after in the after hours. But anyways, well, everybody, all the viewers, thank you all for watching. If you are an after hour subscriber, we'll see you there. If not,
Those after hours behind like a paywall.
It's over at Patreon, just because we don't want to show off our
the
boobies
Patreon
to,
content,
just
the
everybody.
bonus, the buzz. It's exciting.
Yeah.
there will be nipples. There's always
That's a horror movie
there's
title
always
right
nips.
there. It's not There Will Be Blood. It's There Will Be Nipples, starring
There
Mika.
will be
There will be nips, and they are sharp.
Well, awesome, Corinne. Thank you so much for coming on. And so for Girl Dad Girls, I am that QT Danny B. We have Michaelaville, and we have Abri Saint Marie. And thank you everybody for watching. We'll see you in the after hours or next week every Thursday. Bye, everybody.
This has been a production of Girl Dad Girls Podcast. Check out new episodes every Thursday. If you are interested in knowing more, please email info@girldadgirls.com or find us on Instagram at girldadgirls. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe.